In the next, One Piece. Who the hell gave Luffy a gun? It's just irresponsible. Children should not brandish weapons. King of the Wetness gonna take you down. Gonna take you down. Marineford Arc, yeah, it's getting hot now. It's getting hot now. King of the Wetness gonna take you down. Gonna take you down. Marineford Arc, yeah, it's getting hot now. It's getting hot now. We've got a multi-act season, 1, 2, 3. So come aboard to brave this sea. Supernovas and mystery. Warlords, wars, and tragedy. King of the Wetness gonna take you down. Gonna take you down. Marineford Arc, yeah, it's getting hot now. It's getting hot now.
Celestial dragons, lowest of low. Overwhelming enemies, it's time to go. Luffy's gonna fight for his big bro, so now it's time to start the show. Hello, fellow members of Shiki's Golden Lion Crew Armada Pirate Fleet, and welcome to another episode of King of the What Now, a One Piece anime discussion podcast that is reviewing One Piece from the very beginning. I'm your host, Joel, a man who cut off his own legs and replaced them with sick-ass swords.
That's pretty sick.
Thank you.
I'm kind of jealous that I don't get to be the one who cut off her legs and replaced them with sick-ass swords.
Would you rather be a monkey, or would you like to be a clown doctor?
Listen, what I am is Ghost of the Show Cat, and I was inspired to take up a life of crime by witnessing Gol Roger's execution.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Before we get into talking about the Strong World movie and related episodes and specials, it's time for Chatting with the Hosts. Now, Catherine, you made a bold proclamation the last time we recorded. You said that we would watch more Black Clover before we recorded the next episode, or else we would have to watch some show that someone recommended.
The worst isekai there is.
Okay,
recommended
yes.
to us by our many ceiling fans.
So now, tell me, are we hanging our head in shame today, or are we pumping our fists victoriously?
No, we didn't. We watched some Black Clover. You really wanted to avoid terrible isekai.
Exactly how much Black Clover did we watch?
2 episodes.
I believe it was 1 episode.
Was it really?
It was really just the one.
Whoopsie.
Whoops.
But I got to meet Fangy Boy, who is my favorite character based on aesthetics alone.
Yeah, and his name is Zerx? Is that how he introduced himself? Even though we clearly know that he's not Zerx.
He stole the Purple Orca the Purple Orca vice captain's jacket, and he came to the party, the tournament? That's what it's called. Yeah. He came to the tournament, and he was like, "What up? I'm the Purple Orca's vice captain." And the Magic King, clearly full of it, was like, "Oh yeah, he's changed a lot in his time in isolation. Welcome to the tournament, guy."
Absolutely.
I'm excited to watch him commit crimes.
For sure.
Crime-committing characters are my favorite kind of characters, and he seems to have a chip on his shoulder, and he's got the fangs.
Yeah, he seems like kind of a lovable dirtbag, you know? He shows up and he's insulting a bunch of other characters, and he says that he wants to be friends with Asta, but really that's just a ploy to hit him with a stink bug bomb, and he's very interesting. He's in the opening and the closing, so you figure he's going to be pretty important for this current arc.
Yeah, this is probably the arc where the Magic Knights realize, like in My Hero, how the heroes are like, oh, maybe hero culture is bad. This will probably be maybe Magic Knight culture is bad arc. Absolutely.
Now, I originally aped this, the chatting with the host format from The Weekly Planet. The Weekly Planet!
The Weekly Planet!
If you haven't checked them out, I don't know how you could have stumbled upon our podcast without having stumbled upon their podcast. They're a really good duo pair that talk about movies and comic books and video games. But my point is that we've been talking a bit about some psychology books and we've been talking about some Minecraft, but I want to just kind of remind ourselves that this is kind of about like anything that you would recommend people read and that sort of thing.
Oh, so I forgot that's what it was about.
See, that's why we need to put up a sign so that we don't forget when we take hiatuses between seasons. Hopefully, though, in the future, there will be no global events that affect our brain slimes and that sort of thing. Has there been anything else that you've been doing other than One Piece that you've really been enjoying this last week?
All right, so you just said this was for things I would recommend to people, and, I would say that I'd recommend this, but I've gotten a little obsessed with getting good at making cakes.
You're going to try the challenge. You're going to get good at...
Yes, specifically decorating. Because I think anybody can make a cake that tastes good, but I think that decorating a beautiful cake is, it's art. It's like painting. And so I've been practicing my different frosting and piping techniques, and it's very restful. And if you need a hobby that's hands-on, that you can feel like you've created something that you can then share with other people, go learn to make cakes, and we can talk about your favorite cake recipes.
How would you recommend if someone was like, I know very little about cake baking, or I want to take my cake baking to the next level? Like, is there a specific resource that's really helpful to you? Or?
I watch a lot of cake decorating compilations on YouTube, but when it comes to actual skill development, one YouTuber that stands out in particular is the Preppy Kitchen. He does a lot of recipe breakdowns where he talks about the development of the recipe and how it works. And then he also has a lot of videos on decorating specifically and how to use different piping tips to get the best effect. So I would recommend his YouTube channel for sure.
Would you say that he has tips on the best baking tips? Cake icing tips?
I would say that. I've also been watching a lot of the Icing artist, and the videos where she's actually making cake are really good. Sadly, it kind of seems like that's not what her channel does anymore. The videos I was watching were from 4 years ago.
Oh, no.
Now she buys the same cake from 1- and 5-star bakeries and then compares them and kind of makes fun of them, and I'm not sure I'm super into that. It's a little mean.
Absolutely. Sometimes the rage sells, Angry Video Game Nerd and Nostalgia Critic and Angry Joe. There's quite a few people who are more known for getting angry about things, and I think it can be constructive sometimes. But I think that a balance of different types of tone is good for media consumption.
Oh, for sure. And my goal, I use YouTube to learn how to do stuff. I don't really use YouTube for entertainment. So if I'm not learning something, then I probably won't watch it.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. I don't really have anything that I can really touch upon. I've been playing more Minecraft, as has been my want, and I finished a giant ice generator. I think I had it the last time we recorded, but I've expanded it, so now it's even bigger, and that's awesome. I found some diamonds right there next to my mountain base that I live at, and I have 25 cow crusher machines. Most of them aren't at full capacity, but I'm slowly feeding them wheat, getting more, so then that way I can just heal up my sweet kick-ass pickaxe.
So let me ask you this, to keep us on track. Would you recommend people pay just $1 to the Full Spectrum Patreon so they can play Minecraft with you in their Discord?
If people want to support the Full Spectrum podcast, please do so. Please check them out. They're a wonderful group of people, and the only thing they put behind that patron wall is access to the server. Once you're on the server, you can join the Minecraft role, and then you can join the Minecraft server.
Also, to be clear, because we've done this bit a couple of times, TFS has in no way paid or contracted us to say any of this. We are just good buddies with one of their hosts, Trey, and we like their content a lot, and it's important to us to uplift our friends and fellow creators.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought you were going to explain that if you can't afford a dollar thing, and I was like, I think that got more reach than we do. Anyone who's listening to us has probably heard of the whoever it was. That wasn't Belle Daphne or whatever.
No, that wasn't Belle Daphne. Or Delphine. That was some rando on Twitch. I don't even know who she is.
Okay. Well, no worries. We don't have to dwell on it too much. But, yeah, Minecraft's a lot of fun. It's interesting how into it I am, and, I'm kind of trying to figure out how to make bigger projects. I'm thinking I'm going to decorate this ice generator thing with a giant snowman at some point, and so that'll be fun. Once I get around to actually uploading content to YouTube other than just our podcast episodes, I do plan on kind of showing off all the things that I've done and why I'm so proud of them. Hey here, future Joel here. I did realize there was one YouTube video in particular that I really enjoyed, and so I just thought that I would put it in here as a recommendation. If you're into kind of the nerdcore YouTube artists talking about, or not talking, but rapping about nerdy things, Cam Steady has a Pokemon Trainer rap cipher, and I really enjoyed it, as well as Rustage's latest Josuke rap. And when I say latest, I mean it's his latest video. It's about Josuke. Both of those will be linked in the description. They're bops. But that has been Chatting with the Hosts. let's get back to the regular episodes.
Perfect. So I think the best way to do this would be to give a succinct summary for the filler episodes and talk about those if you want. There's nothing to talk about really. But then to give a succinct summary for episode 0 and the movie and talk about those.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll separate into 2 groups. So just at the very top of the episode, we watched episodes 426 through 429 of the anime, and then we also watched the film Strong World, and then the special Strong World episode 0. If you are not familiar with these different pieces of media, the filler episodes really have almost no connection at all to the movie, so you can safely skip them, and they're not very good. So you can skip them for that reason as well. Episode 0 is sort of like an epilogue, like it spoils the climax of the movie, but it shows a couple of other like flashbacks because Shiki's a character from earlier in history. So if you haven't seen either, watch the movie and then watch episode 0 after.
And episode 0 gave me a piece of info I'm really excited to discuss, but we'll get to that.
Yes, we covered these things in order as is proper of nerds.
Proper. Nom, nom, nom.
Episodes 426 through 429 is real simple. Luffy sees a giant beetle, and he decides he wants to capture it. The beetle belongs to a little girl who's from a village called Little East Blue, where they love the Baratier, and they love the dojo that Zoro trained at, and they love the windmill village that Luffy grew up in.
They're all from East Blue, and they love the Straw Hats because that crew is mostly made up of people from the East Blue.
That's true, yeah, they've heard of their exploits. So yeah, they've made like their own version of East Blue, and they have their own chef, their own sword dojo guy, their own person who lives in a mansion that looks like Kaya's mansion. There's this group of pirates called the Amigo Pirates. They all wear sombreros, and it doesn't really matter. They want the beetle for reasons. They're contracted by Shiki to capture the beetle, but then Luffy goes, heck no, we like this beetle, and then they fight for a bit, and then Luffy beats them up, and then that's the end. That's it. And the only way this ties into the movie at all is it briefly shows like a scene of Shiki's escape from Impel Down, and it also Shiki's the one who hired the Amigo Pirates to be Amigo Pirates, to get to show up and basically be one-off villains.
So, do you like these filler episodes?
No, I absolutely hated them. They were terrible.
They're not good. We didn't really get any new information or reveals, because of course we wouldn't. It's not canon. And it was really samey. I talked to you about this off mic, but a common criticism of One Piece that I've seen is that every arc is the same. You know, they go to an island, people are in trouble, they make a friend, they help the friend save the people, they move on. And I don't mind that so much because every island feels like a unique adventure and it feels like its own world. And it's just kind of like the very, very base level plot that is similar. But with these filler arcs, there's no sense of adventure. It just feels like we've seen this before.
Huh?
So I wouldn't recommend them.
I didn't feel any connection to the child. It was kind of cute the way that she kept latching onto people's heads and biting them, and then when, at the end of the series of episodes, when they decide to stand up for themselves, that's how she attacks the bad guys. Okay, cool. But it's bad. There's only 2, named members of the Amigo Pirates, and I don't even know the name of one of them. I didn't even know Largo's name until it was in an episode title at the very end of the arc, but the vice captain, who I think is the little brother of the captain, he's attacking the village, and he has a bunch of henchmen, and Zoro and Sanji take out the henchmen, and then the captain, Largo, he captures Zoro and Sanji, and Luffy, Usopp and Nami are right there. They're both long-range people who use their brains and can usually think around situations, and they decide to do nothing. And then you're supposed to be like, oh, look, the Beetle got up, and woo, yay, the Beetle, who definitely has a personality. He doesn't.
He has more of a personality than the kid.
Okay, sure. The Beetle cares for the kid, which is that is one aspect of his personality. But yeah, it was not good. They implied that there was some kind of if the brother is woken up from his sleep, he will go on a rampage or something, or it'll be very bad, but that never pays off in any meaningful way.
Yeah, I was excited to see that pay off, and nothing. Right,
yeah. So, I wouldn't recommend it. I will say they had Robin, Frankie, Chopper, and Brooke, who for some reason were not part of, I get it, they're not from the East Blue, so because this episode wanted to focus on the East Blue and remind you that's where Luffy's from, those 4 just hang back. but they play cards on the ship while the adventure is going down. And it's heavily implied that Robin cheats, and Frankie was about to call her out, but then they just so happened to hear an explosion from the village, and Robin didn't plan that. The Amigo Pirates are the ones doing that, but, what? Like, what a coincidence in timing.
That's great. I love that. I love Straw Hat family antics, so
Yes.
them on the ship was probably my favorite part. The other one thing I really liked about these episodes was Usopp befriends a little old lady who's pretending that she used to live in Kaya's mansion so that she can live in the mansion on Little East Blue.
And
they're
when
just
you say little woman, it's like the comical only exists in cartoon, like 1.5 foot tall Yoda sized old lady.
Yeah, and she's got like a little dog nose for some reason. But their friendship is really cute. I like that. By the end of the series of filler episodes, she's riding on Usopp's back.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's some good stuff here. It's heavily implied that the guy who runs the dojo is like afraid of Zoro. That doesn't pay off in any meaningful way, but like if you had a dojo master who told a bunch of people in this area like, oh yes, I'm a master of swords, but they've never been attacked by pirates and there's no other like dojos to compete against. I love the idea of this guy being a doofus who doesn't actually know how to fight with swords. But nothing comes of that, which is why filler is so frustrating. But there was a cute scene. The chef who worked at I don't know if it's called the Little Baratier, but that's what I call it. But he works at the Baratier, like, copy in this village, and he gives Sanji some food to try, and Sanji eats it, and he goes, wow, this is even better than Zeph's. And from what I know of Zeph and what I know of Sanji, I'm guessing that this is a lie, but it was a really cute lie.
And the guy was so happy. He was like overcome by emotion hearing this.
Yeah, it was a really cute scene, but other than that, this filler didn't really offer much of anything. The Beetle could shoot flames, which makes sense if you see the movie, but in the standalone episodes, it's just kind of like, why? Why can the Beetle shoot flames? But let me see if there's anything else that I wrote down for like new info or characters on our list. Nope. Okay, yeah, none of our notes that we wrote down or discussion questions had anything to do with these episodes, so we're moving on.
Excellent.
So I had an epiphany. I remembered something that I wanted to mention earlier when you were talking, and I wanted to kind of add my own thoughts. So we're just going to briefly turn back time, and we're going to go to when you were talking about, all of the One Piece is the same. They just go to an island, and they fight a bad guy, and then they save the day. I would argue that the 3 Lord of the Rings movies, like the big one, not the Hobbit prequels, but the Lord of the Rings, they're all the same. It's a bunch of people going to a place and trying to stop people from going, or trying to fight people who are trying to stop them from going to a place.
All the MCU superhero movies are the same. It's all about get MacGuffin out of the hands of bad guy.
Yeah, that's true. Now, I would say that I've seen a lot of people get really upset with how samey the MC movies are, but I would say that there's a lot more people who would defend Lord of the Rings as, like, art.
That's fair. All I'm saying is that I think that pretty much every story is the same story if you really boil it down to its base components. That's part of why the hero's journey is such a common storytelling device.
Sure.
But it's more about how those elements are put into play and how you write your story than it is about, they go to an island and they meet a people.
Yeah, the atmosphere and the theming and the metaphors and all of these kind of deeper things that even if you aren't an English lit student going through and looking for it all, the colors and the villains' motivations and their powers, those are wildly different between Thriller Bark and Sky Island and Ennie's Lobby. You have one that's about government control. You have one that is both a warning of, like, someday your entire crew might die and it might drive you insane like it drove me insane, and Halloween. And then you have another one that's about, like, a guy who calls himself God because he has this amazing power. So, yeah, like, I guess they do go to an island, and I guess they do find people that they like, and they do find people they don't like, but are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I can't stand that criticism because it's just so reductionist. Like, Naruto is a series about a ninja who fights other ninja. That's what every arc is about.
Every arc of Bleach is about guy with sword fights other guy with sword and new magic powers.
Bleach, actually, of the big 3, is the most repetitive. Like, there's a scene where Orihime is taken by the bad guys, and it's literally like, oh, this is just like that scene with Rukia, but this time it's Orihime. Like, it's exactly the same. But yeah, no, man. Some shonen is formulaic, but I think that One Piece does a good job of beating that formula. It's weird that on this One Piece podcast, I would defend One Piece, my favorite show in all of media. There's no movie, there's no book, there's no manga that can outperform One Piece in my mind. I think that Oda, despite having flaws, is an amazing writer, and get the heck out of here with your, oh, they're all the same.
You can tell that he's been working on his skills as a storyteller since he was a child.
Yeah, absolutely.
Onward to the movie, which was written by our good boy, Ichiro Oda.
I have a lot more like behind the scenes production information for this particular episode, for this particular movie. I don't normally do that, but I was very curious, and we'll go into that in just a second. But first, you might need a succinct summary, which I'm going to tell from the point of view of the Straw Hats. There's certain elements of like Shiki's personality and whatever that make more sense to us, the viewer, that we learn before the episode starts, before the movie starts proper, but the Straw Hats are sailing the seas, they see a floating ship, they start talking with the captain. No, a storm is coming, and Nami warns Luffy to watch out for the storm. They tell the floating ship people, watch out for the storm, and the storm comes, and this guy who is on the floating ship named Shiki is so impressed, he comes down and he starts palling around. He seems like a pretty cool guy. He invites them to come up and party with him, and he's like, wow, I can't believe that you managed to know that a storm was coming. You know how to use tone dials from Sky Island. That's really neat. My name's Shiki. Isn't that cool? And then, instead of being a cool guy, he kidnaps Nami. So then the Straw Hats are stranded on these floating islands. Shiki ate the float fruit, and so he has like this giant ecosystem that's up in the sky that he controls with his powers. And the crew gets separated, and they have to fight a bunch of really big animals. There's like giant praying mantises that can cut things, and there's like boxing octopuses, and there's little tiny ants that can like immediately eat all of the bones, all of the meat off of your bones. They eventually figure out that Shiki is going to destroy all of East Blue, which is insane. Like, even for a One Piece movie, that's like an insane plan. And Luffy decides, A, gotta rescue Nami, but then B, once he figures out that this guy's gonna do some damage to East Blue, he's gotta protect his hometown. They fight, and Luffy totally wipes the floor with this guy. And that's basically been your succinct summary.
That was a great succinct summary. Let me ask, what did you like this movie and episode 0?
Yes, I absolutely loved the movie. Episode 0 was alright. It just kind of felt like I guess it was technically meant to be a supplemental material. I think the first 1 million people that went to go see the movie in theaters were given like a manga that was like extra details about Shiki. And so it doesn't really affect canon too much, but it is kind of an interesting, like, oh, very interesting. The succinct summary for episode 0 is that Shiki was a rival of Roger's, but then he lost, he went to Impel Down, and then he found out that Roger had been captured and killed.
He went to Impel Down after he found out Roger had been captured. Because he freaked out, and he threatened the Marines, and the Marines were like, whoa, guy.
Oh, and that's when they captured him?
Yeah.
Okay. So he really wanted to settle his beef with Roger. He heard that Roger was going to get captured. He goes to Marineford. Garp and Son Goku, looking fly as hell in their suits, defeat him and send him to Impel Down. And then he decides the only way to get out of Impel Down is to cut off his own goddamn legs, which is metal as hell, and he escapes, and then he decides he's going to get revenge, but his revenge plan is one of those circuitous James Bond 20-year plans, so he only conveniently starts to enact his revenge now that Luffy has come and is ready to smack him in the face. And we also get some more details about Roger's execution, which we'll go into in a little bit.
Absolutely. I really liked this movie. I feel like there is a trio of One Piece movies that are kind of considered like the gold standard of One Piece movies. And we've mentioned it before, but it's this one, Strong World, Film Z, and Film Gold.
Yes.
Are the 3 big movies. And I think Oda wrote all 3 of them, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. And yeah, this was the first one I saw. I saw this movie back before I even started watching One Piece, before you had successfully gotten me into it, because it came out in theaters and you were like, there's a new One Piece movie out. I've got to see it. And you found it online, like through some streaming service.
Right. I thought you meant we went to go see it in the theaters, and I was scrunching my face because I was like, only 2 movies have released in theaters in America.
Yeah, but at that point we lived together, and so we watched it together, and I had no idea what was going on, but I was like, hey, this seems like a funky time.
Yeah.
And now we own it. So it's a good movie. I like it a lot. Shiki is weird.
Shiki is very weird.
His whole thing is weird, and he's got 2 other characters who are kind of like his core unit. They're his Zoro and his Sanji.
Yeah, it's the monster trio of the Shiki Pirates, basically.
So he's got Dr. Indigo, who is a clown scientist doctor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, scientist and doctor kind of interchangeable, right? I think he's probably a geneticist / physiologist more than, like, a physics guy.
And then he's got Scarlet, who is just a gorilla that he keeps mistaking for members of his family. So first he's like, a gorilla? I thought that was my mother.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I thought you were my grandmother for a second.
Yeah, Scarlet is strange. In my mind, Scarlet sounds like a woman's name, and Scarlet wears kind of like, I guess, more of a girly hat, and like, whatever, wear whatever clothes you want, but Oda typically puts men in suits and women in dresses and that kind of thing. Like, you can usually tell how they dress, how they're
Scarlet's
coded.
got a pink jacket on.
Yeah. So Scarlet's a little weird, but Scarlet uses he, him pronouns. Let's respect pronouns, I guess, for this fictional gorilla character. And he doesn't talk. He's not a talking gorilla. He's not like a Grodd or...
Straight up just a gorilla.
Just a gorilla. So it turns out that they have... The mad scientist 20-year plan was to basically create monstrous creatures of science, and I think that Scarlet was maybe the first one. They don't establish it, like what the background is, but it seems like Scarlet is one of those highly evolved animals who has decided to ally with Shiki.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely. Also, they do a bit
Yeah.
a couple of times
Yeah.
where they all end up posing together as a trio. And Joel looked this up, and I don't think he found anything, but I was really curious if they were, like, based off of some famous, like, comedy trio.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was able to find out that apparently it's something called Manzai, which I've heard of before, but I've never really looked into. It's apparently a duet, kind of a comedy skit, where one is the straight man and one is the silly person, and according to the Wikipedia article, because, again, I don't really know much about it, but it's kind of a lot of back and forths where it's kind of like the who's on first, you know? There's puns or misunderstandings or wordplay and that kind of thing. So... even though there's 3 of them, and when they pose, it's all 3 of them posing, the primary back and forth is between the 2 talkative members who
the
can
people
actually
who can
speak.
talk.
And so that's what that is. But yeah, they do this to Nami like 3 or 4 times, and then they pose, and Shiki goes, how was that? And Nami always goes, meh. And so, like... what? What
Nami
is going on with this?
Nami is not taken in by their comedy. Also, I apologize. I didn't realize that it was in our notes. I thought when we were talking about it during the movie, you said you hadn't found anything. So, whoopsie. My bad.
Yeah, so that's just, it's something interesting, and it goes away later in the movie, so I think what it was is that Shiki was trying to impress Nami with his charisma, because... man, he takes a liking to her, not just for her weatherness, but, I mean, he calls her, is it Baby Doll?
Baby Cakes.
Baby Cakes, thank you, sorry.
Which is especially weird, and we'll get into the differences between the dub and the sub, but in the sub, he just calls her girl, and I feel like the Baby Cakes is, like, especially creepy, and I feel like the English version really ramped up his creep factor.
Sure.
And also, we didn't mention this at the top of the episode, we did watch the dub rather than the sub, because we didn't feel like reading subtitles today.
Although we do, of course, always have subtitles on when it's available, because why not? But yeah, we watched the dub. They also gave him a Jamaican accent, and I think I remember someone telling a story of, like, why they went along with that, because I don't think, but I don't really speak Japanese, I don't think he speaks in, like, a specific regional dialect or anything. But they gave him a Jamaican voice actor, and this is also... speaking of the dub, the first time that we got Ian Sinclair as Brooke, because they had not yet dubbed Thriller Bark when Funimation took over, and so they actually dubbed this one first, and this was his Brooks' theatrical debut in all of the One Piece movies, but also his dubbing debut as a voice actor.
So we just have to say, once again, Ian Sinclair is a national treasure.
You really like Ian Sinclair.
I know there are a lot of people who feel like the Japanese voice cast is perfect and they do an incredible job, and I agree. I love all of the Japanese voice actors, but when we're talking about the English cast specifically, the two characters that I think are perfectly cast are Brook and Zoro. So yes. I'm very attached to Ian Sinclair. We got to get his signature at SoccerCon a couple years ago, and that was neat, and he was very nice.
He delivered a line really well in this movie. So like I said, the crew gets separated, and Frankie and Robin and Brook end up together. By the way, they end up together a lot, and in my mind, they're the third trio of the Straw Hat crew. Right now we have 9 members. You have the Monster Trio, you have the Baby or the Coward Trio. Kat prefers Baby Trio. I like Coward Trio, but that's Chopper, Usopp, and Nami. And then you got like the 3 middle. And in terms of strength or bounties or whatever, they are generally, they're the middle. They're not quite as crazy as the Monster Trio. They're not quite as cowardly as the Baby Trio.
Are you saying Robin Frankie mid?
Not in those words. I'm saying statistically. No. But anyways, they end up separated, and there's a bunch of ants that are attacking, and they immediately run past Brook, and Brook's like, what's going on? And then these ants attack like a giant fish, and they eat all of the bones, and Frankie goes, obviously they're not going to go after you. You don't have any meat on your bones. And Brook's response is, how rude! And then Brook defeats all of the ant things with his sword skills, and it's just, I love his indignation. I don't remember, he didn't say how rude, that's a different line from a different episode, but I really like the facial expression they did. It felt like a JoJo's reference.
He's so angry, yeah, and that ongoing joke of Brook being kind of taken aback by people not recognizing him as like a living person.
It's so strange because on one hand, I kind of get the idea. It's sort of like he's not being treated as the thing he identifies as. Like in his mind, he's still human. But come on, Brook. Like factually, you don't have meat on you. That's true.
Buddy, you just bones.
Yeah, just all bones.
Can we talk about Film Zero for a second?
Yeah, sure.
I was really, really excited watching Film Zero, or Episode Zero, I guess. Not only because I hadn't ever seen it before, but because this is the first time, we've seen Gold Roger have a conversation with someone on camera.
I believe so, yeah.
And Shiki says to him, let's team up. We can use that weapon you found to destroy the world. And Roger, of course, turns him down because Roger doesn't care about ruling the world. But what have we been saying about the One Piece? The One Piece is a weapon. Luffy's going to use it to destroy the government as it currently exists. But I think Shiki misunderstood what kind of weapon it is. I don't think it's necessarily you can use it to poison all the celestial dragons or whatever.
Sure.
But still, I was really excited about that.
See, I thought that maybe I misheard it. I thought that Shiki had said, why don't we use my weapon and then we can team up and defeat things? Because Shiki seems like the sort of guy who takes 20 years to plan this weird, complicated thing, so maybe he had a cannon that he could use. But you could be right.
Well, what he said was, we'll use my armada and your weapon that you found.
That's what I got confused. Okay.
Yeah, so that's really cool. It's kind of a cool piece of, confirmation. And it was in this random side story. It wasn't even in the real manga. So we used to watch a lot of One Piece theorists on YouTube, and we kind of fell off of doing that because unfortunately a lot of them still read scans, even though official translations are available same day now.
In English-speaking countries, but these people are from English-speaking countries.
Right. But people would say things and they'd be like, well, as you know, blah, blah, blah. Or they'd show screenshots and we'd be like, where are these coming from? And it turns out, it's coming from spin-off stuff. It's not enough to read the main series. If you want all the information, you need the side novels and the,
Well, and I don't mind if something's going to try to be a multimedia experience. It would not surprise me with all of these Disney Plus Marvel movies coming out, or not movies, TV shows. It wouldn't surprise me if in the next Doctor Strange movie or Spider-Man or whatever, they reference the events or the climax of WandaVision or Falcon and the Winter Soldier, what have you. And I don't mind that, but what I have a problem with is that sometimes I'm not aware that these things exist. I knew that a movie came out called Film Z, or Strong World, sorry, and I believe that the manga even had some explicit, like, advertisements for it in the Shonen Jump. But I don't remember being told about episode 0, and it wasn't aired as part of the continuity in the anime. And so those are the two main sources for me of where to get information, is the manga and the anime. It was neither of those. Kind of reminds me of if you ever watched the CW's The Arrow, or was it just Arrow? They had a season, or in between seasons, where where the CW launched an animated, like, short couple of episodes where he teams up with another superhero whose name escapes me at the moment. But then she showed up, in the next season, and they referenced, like, oh, we had a lot of fun fighting those guys this summer. And I was like, I've only been watching the show. What did I miss? So,
you know what it reminds me of?
What's that?
It reminds me of when we were reading Oathbringer, and we were also in the Cosmere Facebook group, and there were all sorts of people saying, like, as we know, this character's name is blah, blah, blah. And you were like, where did people get that? There was a secret, like, compendium side thing that we hadn't even heard of, and we're huge fans of Sanderson's.
Yeah.
So it is rough when your sources of information are limited and people are doing, like, multi-platform experiences, because, we want to know all the things. That's why we read and watch and engage with the culture as a whole, because, like, we have to know. Have I read the FNAF books, despite them being, just okay? Yes. Not all of them, but the first couple.
Yeah, there's been an explosion of FNAF books. There's no way that we could keep up with how infrequently we sit down to read. Let's finish talking about episode 0, since it was relatively short. It's only like 20-ish minutes. The one thing that I liked from this movie is that we see Roger's execution. Again, told from the point of view of Shiki, who was like, I can't believe that Roger would go and die on me. It felt like maybe a little bit of like an unrequited love thing, or like, this is my rival and I'll be the one to kill him. But like that, he literally shows up in Marineford and is like, I'm gonna break him out of jail so that I can be the one to defeat him.
It's like an obsession, like Joker Batman kind of.
Yeah, exactly. But we see the execution, and we see Buggy there crying pretty hard. We see Shanks there gripping the straw hat to his head. But we also got a couple of other familiar faces. We saw a younger Moria. We saw a younger Doflamingo. We saw a younger Mihawk. And, man, Oda made sure to show them in a different fashion style, because people do change over 20 years and that sort of thing.
Dragon was there and had no face tattoos.
Right. Yes, we did briefly see him too, which is incredible. Was he a member of the Revolutionaries at this time? I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Was this the event that triggered him to start the Revolutionary Army?
Yeah, exactly. So there's just a lot of questions to be asked. Moria looked a little less onion-shaped. He still had the blue skin, so I'm pretty sure he's some other race, and we'll find out more about Moria later. But he still had the blue skin, but he was a lot more athletic looking, and he had like a choker on, and like, that's kind of hot.
You're gonna have to show me this again, because I somehow saw every one of these characters except Moria.
Okay.
But yeah, Daffy had like aviator glasses on the top of his head, but was still wearing his regular sunglasses.
Oh, he looked so good. He looked like a steampunk boy. He's going on his own little steampunk adventure. And Mihawk wasn't wearing the hat that I would say is kind of iconic for his character. And having seen his character dressed a certain way for so long, he looks real freaking weird when he's in a different outfit. It's like, whoa, Mihawk, what are you doing there?
In addition to showing us kind of what happened at Roger's execution, it flashed through a bunch of the places and faces that we know and showed people reacting to the great pirate era that was beginning.
Yes.
So that was kind of cool. I don't remember most of them, but the one that did stand out was we got to see Tom again, and Frankie was there being like, I helped him, so everything will turn out okay.
Oh, God. Yeah, here's a detail that either I didn't notice when we were watching Ennie's Lobby, or I didn't want to comment on it because, it was kind of future knowledge. But in this flashback of, like, the day that Roger was executed, it shows Tom and, Kokoro talking about, like, oh, how's the sea train coming along? Because it hadn't been completed yet. And on his arms were 2 sun tattoos, which we have just learned is a member of, or
symbol
marks
of the Sun Pirates.
Yeah, exactly. So Tom might have been a pirate in a former age, and
maybe he was their shipwright. There's going to be a little bit of a cut there because I had to clarify something with Joel that I was unsure on. Yeah,
so that's all really interesting. Something else that's kind of interesting, I don't know if this is, like, relevant. Like, there are weird devil fruits in One Piece. We've met a man who restarted his heart with his own lightning powers. We've seen Buggy who can be split in different pieces. We've seen a guy who can summon sandstorms. Shiki fights against Roger in something called the Ed War, I think. And it's at sea, and it's like one ship, the Oro Jackson, versus all of these other ships, Shiki's giant armada. But Roger won anyways because a storm showed up and, like, destroyed half of Shiki's armada. But a storm also showed up in the movie at the beginning and the end that Nami was able to predict. And there was a storm that happened to show up the day that Luffy was saved from the execution by Buggy.
And in episode 0, we saw a storm as Roger was being executed.
Right, so it wouldn't surprise me if there's, like, a storm fruit or some kind of, like, sky dragon or something, like something really powerful. But it seems like it is on Roger's and Luffy's side. It's almost like they're maybe ordained by heaven or something to make it through these things okay.
Or by the devil.
I mean, who knows? Yeah, because it's not sunny weather that's helping them. It's bad weather that's helping them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all really interesting. The other thing, too, is Garp and... I can't remember if it's Garp or Sengoku, because those two are always together. They tell Shiki that they're going to execute Gold Roger at Logtown, the Town of Beginnings. I thought that town was called the Town of Beginnings because it's where Roger died and started the Great Pirate War. This is a week before his execution, though, so it was already called that.
See, my understanding was it was called that because it's the last island before you reach the Red Line.
Oh, okay. I thought I remembered from the episode where it was explained, I thought it had something to do with the fact that, like, that's where Roger was before he went on his adventure. But I think you're right that it is the last right before the Red Line, so... Okay, that's pretty interesting. We also get a bit of information. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this on podcast before, but I didn't realize that it was from episode 0, where it was confirmed. Garp is in a meeting when they hear that Shiki's on the move or something, and he goes, I gotta leave. And whoever he's talking to is like, wait, come back here, we're not done talking. And he goes, you might be done talking, or you might not be done talking, but I am. And Garp leaves. Garp was offered a promotion from Vice Admiral to Admiral. And a younger Kuzan, who will later go on to become Aokiji, says, whoa, Garp, you turned them down for the promotion? That's so cool. Did he have the ice power back then? I don't know. But anyways, the point is that Garp intentionally stays at the rank of Vice Admiral because it gives him all the freedom in his life that he needs.
He likes freedom, huh?
He likes freedom.
Kind of sounds like maybe he should have been a pirate. Maybe he is the family disappointment, not Dragon and Luffy.
Yeah, for sure. But no, it's really fascinating that apparently Garp is recognized as being good enough to be an admiral at this time. Also, Sengoku at this time was an admiral, so I guess at some point he got promoted up to fleet admiral as he is now, and maybe one of the current 3 took his place.
Yeah, absolutely. We see him with Light Boy.
His real name.
Kuzan?
Borsalino is his real name.
Okay, cool. Like Limoncello. I don't know why I don't know. He's yellow. I'm trying to come up with a way to remember.
Kizaru, Borsalino. Those are the 2 names.
Okay, perfect. But we see him with Kizaru, so maybe he was grooming Kizaru to be his replacement. And maybe that's why Aokiji was hanging out with Garp, and he thought Garp would, take the promotion, and then he would take Garp's spot. But no, Garp's too cool for promotions.
Absolutely. We also get Momonga. And he had a mohawk. He had a mohawk. And 22 years ago, 20 years ago, whenever the heck that was.
Fantastic. Can we just talk for a minute about how hard some of the outfits in this movie slapped?
Yes.
So this is one of my favorite looks for Robin out of all of the many Robin looks, but she's wearing like a striped sweater dress, and she's got her hair up, and she's got glasses, and she just looks so cute. I will say, it's a little short. It kind of just looks like she's wearing a shirt without pants. Oda, please.
I mean, some people, they find pants too confining, for example. But no, I really do like Robin with glasses and sunglasses. We talked about that during the G8 arc when she was pretending to be the Navy inspector, I think it was. It's a great look for her. Robin would be at home in a library. It's too bad that her life didn't go that way. And this kind of feels more like closer to how a librarian might dress. Certainly how an Oda-style librarian would dress.
Absolutely. I also like, if you discount the fact that her dress is a little short and she doesn't have pants on, I like that it's not like an overly sexy outfit.
Yeah.
Nami, I can't remember if this was in the filler or if this was in the movie, but at one point in this stuff we watched, she's wearing like a bikini top under a clear, like, see-through shirt.
Like a lacy shirt, yeah.
Which is a look that I'm sure someone out on the seas would wear, but Oda draws his female characters half naked so often that it was kind of nice to see one of them with sleeves, and like an actual neckline. The other looks that I really liked, one of my favorite scenes from all of the movies is the climax of Strong World, where the Straw Hats burst into Shiki's hideout, and they're all in suits, and they all have guns.
Well, you gotta properly set up the scene, man. There's so much that goes into this. This is arguably the best scene in all of One Piece. It is, if you can get someone to sign on for watching this movie, even if they haven't seen all 400 whatever episodes before it, I think that you could sell how good One Piece is when it reaches its heights. Nami has been captured. She tried to escape, and then she was captured a second time. The Straw Hats are kind of at different stages of investigation, and Robin and Frankie and Brooke end up in a bar where a bunch of other pirate captains, because Shiki has gotten 50 pirate captains to ally themselves underneath him. And Robin is talking to someone trying to figure out like what the enemy's plan is, and basically pretends that they, the Straw Hats, are going to join under Boss Shiki. And the guy goes, "Oh, but don't show up dressed like that. There's a dress code." And Robin goes, "Okay, I'll keep that in mind." Shiki's doing this grand ceremony where he's sharing a cup of sake with all of these 50 captains of different pirates. They're going to ally together. They're going to destroy the East Blue. They're going to rule the world like a James Bond villain would. And some attendant, some no-name grunt on Shiki's crew comes up and he goes, "Shiki, something has happened." And Shiki's like, "You're interrupting this super important ceremony. It better be important." And they're like, 8 people are coming in and they're attacking. And she goes, "Just 8? Just 8. Take care of them." And he goes, "That's the problem, sir." And the camera zooms out and there's a trail of bodies. Don't worry, they're probably all unconscious, leading to the banquet hall. Like they have been destroyed. And then you see the shadows slowly coming up to the sliding door. And you see 3 sword strikes and the door on the right falls over. And then you see Usopp's foot come through the left door.
Sanji's?
No, you see Usopp's come through, and it gets stuck. And Usopp is like, "Oh no, it didn't work." And Sanji goes, "You gotta put more oomph into it." And Usopp goes, No, my foot's still in the door." And Sanji gets the door in. And Shiki's just sitting there like, what is this? They all come in, they've got capes, they're all dressed in black. They all have guns, usually more than one on each of them, of different, like, barrel lengths and whatever. I'm not a gun person, but basically they all had different guns that suited their personalities. And Luffy was like, "Shiki, I'm gonna kick your ass." And Shiki, as all good Bond villains do, he's like, "You think that you can defeat me? I'm so powerful, I'm so cool."
You came in to sacrifice yourself just like your navigator tried to sacrifice herself.
Well, yeah. Nami came, or your navigator sacrificed herself to try to stop me. Because there was a scene we'll talk about in a second, but Nami basically agreed to become part of this guy's crew if it meant saving Luffy and them. And Shiki's like, she's an idiot thinking that she could sacrifice herself in order to stop my plans. Now you 8 have come here to die. And Luffy goes, Nami didn't sacrifice herself. Are you stupid? Nami was the vanguard, and we're the main force. And everyone pulls out their guns. And he's like, we're declaring war. And they all start firing, and it's chaos.
And then, one of my favorite parts of this scene, they all run out of ammo at the same time, and Zoro's like, well, time to get serious, and pulls out his swords. Like, the guns are just toys. Nobody needs guns. Why would you need a gun when you could have a sword? So I really appreciate that.
The thing I appreciate more than anything, so Robin acknowledged the dress code earlier, and it makes sense that you would want a little bit of ceremony because Shiki is a bit extra. Where did they get, not only where did they get the wardrobe from, where did they get the guns from? Because we've never before seen anyone other than Nami have a gun.
The wardrobe, they probably just went back to the Sunny, because there was a scene earlier where they all kind of found it.
Yeah, that's true.
But the guns, I think they took off of the people they defeated on their way in.
Oh, maybe. Maybe Frankie just really quickly built them. Who knows, you know?
They were like, this will make us look cool and intimidating. Let's bring in some guns.
Yes. But no, we talked before, and every time they have an epic walk scene, it gets added to the list. And so, off the top of my head, you've got the walking to Arlong Park with the 4 guys with Johnny and Yanni saying, you know, those 4 will definitely come, and if they don't, not only the East, there's not only no hope for this island, there's no hope for the entirety of the East Blue. And then there's the group walk on top of Annie's lobby as they line up before, you know, getting the I want to live moment from Robin before burning down the flag. That's kick-ass. And I suppose you could also count, there's another one on Thriller Bark that is minus Luffy and Nami, but it's the rest of them fighting Oars, and they finally manage to knock him over, and they're walking over, and it's like, what was that guy's name again? I think it was Doors. No, it wasn't Doors, it was Oars, you idiot. Right. And then they line up and they get ready to fight. And now we have another epic walk scene, this time with guns. Luffy uses the word vanguard, and the dub used a different word, and I don't know if it's the exact same word in Japanese, but I just love, she's the advance guard. She was the infiltrator. She's the spy, and now we're here to kick your ass. So good.
Well, and I love that it represents, like, Luffy's faith in his crew, kind of. Like, he never really thought Nami was gonna die. This isn't about coming here to save Nami exactly. It's more about coming to kick Shiki's ass because he thought he could mess with one of Luffy's friends.
Yes, this also introduces something that becomes a bit of a trope in later One Piece. But as Shiki sees all these people charging in, he decides he's going to, like, what, I guess go to the control room and start his plan or something. So he basically turns and leaves, leaving the goons to take care of these 8 intruders. And Luffy starts chasing him. And Brook shows up and he uses some music to make some people go to sleep. And Usopp's firing some flame stars and stuff like that. But eventually, the 2 named members of Shiki's crew, Dr. Indigo and Scarlet, they try to interfere with Luffy, you know, chasing after their captain. And Zoro steps in and he goes, you're not good enough to stop my captain, as he blocks like a sword thing from the clown guy. And then Scarlet tries to punch him and Sanji kicks him out of the way. And Sanji's like, get out of the way, stupid gorilla. And Luffy just keeps going. And I love that. Luffy didn't have to, like, even look at these 2 lackeys to figure out if they were going to get in his way, because he has the other 2 members of the monster trio to have his back.
He knows that they're there for him.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so good. I really like Luffy's finisher in this movie, Giganto Thor.
Yes?
Is super cool. I don't know how he conducts electricity with his giant rubber foot, but apparently he can. And what a finishing attack.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, so Luffy has, well, not Luffy, Nami has befriended this Pokemon that they named Billy. So Dr. Indigo has created these crazy monsters that all have insane powers, and this is a bird that can create electric shocks. It shocks Shiki, and he doesn't care for that, so he, you know, punches the animal, because animal cruelty is the best way to tell someone that your character is a villain. And Nami's like, hey, don't be mean to this weird duck thing. And so she and this duck thing become best friends, and it flies her around the island after she makes her escape. And Luffy loves this guy and names it Billy because he has a bill like a duck would. But Luffy's also immune to the electric shocks. So the final battle is actually Luffy flying around on this electric bird attacking Shiki in the air, which... Okay, if you had told me in episode 4 that Luffy was going to have an aerial battle with someone, I would not have believed you, because he doesn't have flying powers. What are you talking about? But then eventually, he does Gear Third, and he puts his foot up in the air, and he, I guess, wraps himself in the electricity of the storm, and then smashes Shiki with it, while Shiki shouts the name of a different pirate that he's not actually fighting at that moment.
Yeah, he's like, am I seriously getting beaten by someone from the East Blue again? Roger! God, I'm sorry you never got to give him a little smooch.
Oh my
Shiki.
goodness gracious.
I don't know what to tell you.
But yeah, it's incredible, and I really like it. There's one other scene that we need to hit on, like one scene in specific. So like I said, Nami actually escapes from Shiki at one point, but as they still haven't found Frankie and Brooke and Robin, they're not ready to leave. And also, I think at this point, they've discovered that Shiki's plan is to destroy the East Blue. They already knew the East Blue was under attack at the beginning of the movie, but now they're currently making their way back. Okay, so Shiki's the antagonist. They've got to stop him. They're not leaving this cluster of floating islands at the moment. Nami comes outside, and Luffy's talking in a pretty serious voice. You can tell when Luffy's in serious mode. It's a complete mood. And Luffy's like, Nami, stay back. Shiki is there. And it ends up being a 5-on-1 fight from Usopp plus Zoro plus Sanji plus Luffy plus Chopper. And they're going serious from the get-go, right? Luffy launches himself, and Shiki dodges it, but then Usopp fires like 5 blasts, and the guy dodges that, but then Zoro slashes him, and he kind of like, he actually got hit by that one, and Sanji goes up to kick him, but Shiki's able to catch it in his hand. He's like, oh, you're strong enough to make me use my hands. That's not too bad. But Luffy was already preparing to do his rocket, and he launches himself and smacks Sanji or Shiki away so that Sanji is saved, and then Zoro's using his 72-pound cannon. It's incredible. I love that scene. Every time the Straw Hats team up and when they work together, those are the best goddamn moments. And I guarantee you the final battle against whoever it's going to be is going to involve Luffy's crew members, like, each coming up and each giving him, like, a little bit of a boost to get to, like, the next level of the tower if he's ascending, or like 10 more feet closer to the enemy if he has to jump over a gap of some sort.
Absolutely. Well, we've talked a little bit on Mike about how current arc in the manga is a little hit or miss for me. I don't know if you would say it is for you as well, but that's what it's kind of missing. We haven't really had a Straw Hat teamwork moment, and I feel like we haven't really had one of those in a while. And the Straw Hats' connections to each other and their relationships and the way they play off each other and the way they combine their attacks, that's what really sells this series for me.
For sure.
So, yeah, I think that's a really strong piece of this movie.
Yeah. Or, like, just to go back to the part where Usopp tried to kick down the door, and he's like, I'm stuck, and Sanji's like, let me get that for you. He's like, wait, no. Like, that's the perfect back and forth moment that only works if these two characters know each other, and you know Usopp and Sanji really well. Of course Usopp would want to make the introduction, but of course he's not quite as strong. His kikis aren't as powerful as Sanji's.
Mm-hmm. I love that they're the two that got paired up at the beginning of the movie when the crew got separated.
Yes.
You end up with, like, Sanji and Usopp, and then Frankie, Robin, Brooke, and then Zoro and Chopper. Like, all of these different ways they've split off are so perfect. Like, it's all the best pairs or groups.
Yeah, well, and Zoro is bad at directions, but if he somehow ended up with just Sanji or Usopp or something, they probably could have eventually, like, you keep leading us in the wrong direction, I will take over, you know? But because it's Chopper who's the baby of the crew, he just thinks that Zoro knows his way around directions, and then it turns out he got them lost for 3 days or whatever.
I thought you had a plan as to where we were going. That doesn't sound familiar.
Oh my gosh. It must be said, I really enjoy... There's 2 parts about it that I enjoy. The final battle against Scarlet, the gorilla. He takes Robin and he climbs up a mountain, or not a mountain, sorry, a building, and it's very clearly a King Kong reference, and I actually kind of like that, even if I don't like the women always getting kidnapped. But, you know, it's a clear reference, and when Sanji shows up, the gorilla is about to kiss Robin, and she's all like, ugh, gross. And, again, this gorilla doesn't talk, and Sanji goes, you think that you're going to marry Robin and make her your own? And he starts running towards the attack, and Brooke is like, you understood the gorilla?
When did you learn to speak gorilla? That's like one of the few lines that I liked better in the dub than in the sub. Because in the sub, it was just, when did you learn to understand gorilla? But the dub was a little bit punchier, a little funnier.
And then when Sanji uses Diable Jambe and defeats the gorilla and Robin is dropped, Sanji is like, I'm gonna catch Robin. She's falling. She could get herself hurt. And as he jumps to get her, Brooke flies through and catches her. And she's like, oh, thank you, Brooke. I appreciate it so much. And Sanji starts basically cussing him out while he's flying. And Brooke goes, yeah, whatever, man. And then Sanji crashes into the ground because he was too angry at Brooke to pay attention. So good.
So overall, we really like this movie. Would you say this is the first really good One Piece movie there is?
Yes, but also I recognize that Baron Amatsuri has a special place in some people's hearts. I know if you watch the One Piece animation, it has gotten better because animation techniques have gotten better. And so the early One Piece doesn't really resemble current One Piece at all, but 10 feels like it's a jump in quality to me. It feels like the first movie that was made for theaters, even though all of these have come out in theaters in Japan at least. But it's an incredible movie, and I tried to do some digging. Like, why? I've always thought, like you said earlier, that movie 10, 11, and 12, or maybe it's 10, 12, and 13, because I think 11's like this weird, like, 30-minute thing. We'll get to it. But I've always thought of Film Z, Strong World, and Film Gold as, like, the three ultimate One Piece movies, like the real One Piece movies. And I tried to look up, like, why that might have been. And I think it might be that this was the first movie that came out while I was watching, or while I was reading the series, and while I saw the advertisements for. So it was like, oh my gosh, it's like a real movie because I got to experience it rather than it came out years ago. But also, Oda helped write this. For the 10th anniversary of One Piece, he wanted to differentiate it from all of the movies before. I think he gave okay on, like, character designs, or maybe he did do character designs, but other people wrote the scripts and did the final animation. But on this one, he wanted his name on the credit to distinguish it as a film. So that's awesome. It also introduces several costume changes, which is something that becomes a staple of all of the One Piece movies going forward.
It's my favorite part of Film Gold, is the many, many costumes they go through.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, just in case anyone is curious about the numbers, I looked at the box office releases for all of the different One Piece movies. This movie was the highest grossing One Piece movie to date when it came out, and then the other three that came out later were even bigger successes. But before that, the highest movie had been the second movie, Clockwork Island, which was at, like, let me double check. So the Clockwork Island made about 3 billion yen at the Japanese box office, and all of the movies after that were slowly declining. Each one made less and less and less and less until you got to Strong World, and then it jumps up to 4.8 billion yen. So it's a commercial success. Oda officially signed off on it. As I said in the last episode of the podcast, Shiki is canon. Shiki is a character who exists in One Piece, but I don't know if these events specifically actually did happen. But it is kind of like a what if. Like, if Luffy fought Shiki, this is about how it would play out based off of all the different factors.
And I really do think this is, like, the prettiest One Piece has been so far for what we've watched for the podcast. Beautiful animation. The fights were really cool. The one kind of sticking point for me is the bad CGI during the first fight with Shiki. But, you know, lots of anime movies have bad CGI. I actually think the CGI in this movie was less egregious than Stampede, which came out in 2020, 2019? 2019, because it was when we could still go to theaters.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true. It started in 2020. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, it's an excellent movie. Definitely give it a watch if you haven't. If you have, give it a watch again.
Yeah.
It's available from Funimation if you want to own it on, like, a DVD and that stuff. That's another thing that kind of makes me feel as though this movie is officially official, because you can actually buy it on a disc, not from a guy with a trench coat.
Funimation, please, if you release official DVDs of the other movies, we will buy them. It doesn't even matter if we liked them or not. We'll own them.
We'll own them just so that we can submit people to that time that Chopper could talk to animals, or I don't remember what happened in that movie. Also, really quick shout out to Frankie wearing a banana on his head at the beginning of this movie.
A banana gun, sir.
Yeah. So he had a hat that was a banana, but also had a cannon sticking out of it. And man, Frankie has some wild hairdos, and I don't always like the aesthetics of the different crew, but like that one was a little bizarre. That one was strange.
Yeah, it seemed like he should maybe be going on some sort of adventure to match his bizarre headgear.
Frankie's Bizarre Adventure? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm doing a reference joke. I'm
Well,
doing a mother effing JoJo's reference.
I was just going to say, like, I was wondering if maybe you found a way to turn Frankie into JoJo, like Fro, and like that doesn't sound right.
Frankie's Bizarre Adventure, cyborgs are unbreakable.
Perverts are unstoppable. There we go. I need to get my soapbox out. It's a well-worn soapbox. I've been on it time and time again. Nami at the beginning of this movie is swimming around in a bikini in this pool that Shiki provided for her. That's on Shiki's ship that she has access to. And, you know, women in bikinis is a long-standing thing in a lot of anime, and Nami's cute. But I can't help but notice, the last time I remember Nami being in a bikini explicitly was Sky Island, when she was on the waiver. She went without a shirt for a little bit. And her proportions are getting more and more... she's getting bigger. And there are women with bigger boobs, but... It feels weird because I believe the reason that Oda gives is, quote-unquote, she's still growing, but she's 18 at the beginning of the series. Usually most people are done developing, and it feels like as One Piece gets more and more successful, Nami gets bigger and bigger bust.
There's a quote we've mentioned from Oda before, but it's Nami was always merchandise.
Yes.
And so I really do think it's a matter of, this is a commercial success. We got to give the weirdo fans what they want. Big titties.
Yeah.
And I wonder if One Piece had stayed kind of a lower level production, like if it hadn't taken off the way it did, if Nami's design would have stayed closer to how it was when she was introduced. Because she was very much a tomboy, kind of a small chest, short hair, like... They don't start sexing her up until around here.
Yeah? Well, she has to attend this gala. Well, I mean, I don't know if that's the word she used, but she's given, like, a fancy dress, and when she later, like, recovers and she's ready to fight back alongside her crew, she kind of rips off the outer one. You know, you can see that she's wearing, what is it, garters? Is that what it is? Stockings? And, like, those aren't necessarily sexual, but, like, I don't know. There's just a way that she dresses in this movie that's kind of like, oh, I see. There's a scene at the end of the movie where Robin is on the ship and she's wearing what literally looks like lace lingerie. Like, I've seen that outfit at Victoria's Secret, and it was not meant to be worn out in public because, you know, that's how women typically dress. Dress however you want, but there's animators who are choosing to put people in these outfits, and that I'm still uncomfortable about that. So if you hear me say, One Piece is the best goddamn story, don't be like, well, you know, the women are incredible. Yes, that's cringe. That's cringe as hell. And I wish that advertising and movies and anime wasn't like this.
Did you know there are people who will not watch One Piece because the figurines are so sexy that they think that's what the show is like?
Interesting. That wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, because a lot of the figurines that I've seen of the women are, you know...
They turn what we're complaining about up to 11.
Yeah, well, they're straight up naked with, like, you know, a towel or their hands over the naughty bits that could get you canceled. And there's a bunch of them in wedding dresses, which seems to be a specific kind of a kink for some people, and in bikinis and stuff, and just... Whatever, man. I think that women who want to dress like that can dress like that, but, for example... Robin doesn't strike me as someone who cares about how she's perceived. She seems like she would more, like, dress comfortably rather than dress with no pants. That's kind of weird.
Assassin Queen showed up wearing a slutty cowgirl outfit. And I'm not using slutty derogatorily here. I'm just saying there was a lot of cleavage and thigh on view. Like, that was her introductory outfit.
I guess that's true.
I will say, if you're going, like, character-wise, then no, I don't think she seems like the type to dress like that either. And again, that was a decision of the animators, but, like, Robin has a sordid history of
Okay, that's true.
revealing
And I mean,
outfits.
there is the femme fatale trope, and if you're playing into that, Robin's appearance when she first showed up kind of makes sense. Let's end this episode on a lighter note as opposed to our complaints of One Piece. Brooke gets 2 W's in this movie. 2 wins, as the kids say. No, other way around. Reverse that. He gets 2 wins, 2 W's, as the kids would say, as they floss on their Fortnite skins. Right? I think that's how that works. Brooke was able to save Robin, and she thanked him, and, good for Brooke protecting Robin. But also, he's moving something at the end of the movie. I can't remember exactly what. And he's by himself, and he says, "This labor is really bone-breaking work." And he goes, "Wait, I actually made a bone-appropriate joke for once, but no one was around. Aw, no, Brooke, you finally did it. You broke your habit of making weird puns that have nothing to do with your current body." And that has been your...
Doot. Final thought, outro goes here.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Next episode is going to be a bit of a longer one. In terms of episodes that we're watching, we'll be covering episodes 433 through 440. Have a great day. Ha-ha! What a great episode of King of the What Now, your One Piece podcast that started from the very beginning and stars these 2 doofuses. If you want to follow us on social media, Twitter is the best place to do that. I am at KotWN_pod.
And I am at Pirate Ghost Host.
Absolutely, yes. We share all sorts of thoughts on there, some related to the podcast, some related to other things. But you can also reach us through email at kingofthewhatpod@gmail.com, or you can also find us on Patreon. We would love some subscribers or supporters, whatever the technical term is. Patrons. So fancy and grown up. And you can find that at patreon.com/kingofthewhatpod. You can find all sorts of things like bonus episodes, and you get to see the full cold open candidates, not just the ones that make it into the episode. Maybe someday if I learn to draw, I'll put stuff up there. We're always looking for suggestions and feedback. And speaking of which...
please take a moment to rate and review our podcast wherever you get us from. So iTunes, Spotify, Scrivener, that's for writing. But wherever you listen to our podcast, take a moment to leave a review. It helps other people find us. We are so grateful to all of our listeners, and we couldn't do this without you.
Absolutely. Word of mouth is super powerful, so if you have a friend who likes One Piece and they haven't heard of us, just direct them to the latest episode. And if they hate us, they can tell us why. And if there's an actionable item, we'll try to please you. That's how this works. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.